Today I'm gonna make homemade wine. It's been a couple years since I've done homemade wine. Did not go too well when I made it a couple years back when I was younger. I didn't really look into it too much. I just threw sugar in, threw yeast in, and went to town and hoped that worked. To get started, let's clear um, the space in which I'm using, which is just a tote. I know it's a it's the proper table. If you're not using a tote, you're not doing it right. All right, so I was gonna make a wine and a cider, but I decided I'm just gonna do two wines. Uh, the cider is a little bit easier than a wine because with a wine you throw sugar and yeast. Cider is just yeast. Uh, but I decided, screw it, I'm going to try to see if this turns out to be an okay wine. I haven't made a cider, and I haven't made an apple wine, but curious to see if it turns out okay. I know that I wasn't patient whenever I did it the first time, so that was my big mistake, and I just threw it around and hoped that that was right. Turns out I wasn't patient enough, so patience is the name of the game. So step one, I've already started it a little bit. You can see by the bubbles at the top. This is pretty much step one. It's just shaking. It's just shaking it up and shaking it up and shaking it up. All right. So now that I've shaken them up quite a bit, I'm gonna drain some liquid from them. I'm not entirely sure how much liquid should be drained, but I mean, that could have been bad. Now for the apple juice. Since I haven't done this, I've done grape juice before. Not this grape juice, but I've done grape juice. I wasn't patient with it, like I said. Didn't turn out amazing. But I think that's where I wanted it, but I might do just past those lines. Yeah. Yeah, that's apple juice. Tastes pretty good. If you have access to a funnel, I would recommend it. I've made a little bit of a mess. Had to pull out the poor man's funnel. Alright, so I probably should have poured a little bit more of the juice out, but I think it'll be okay. This has a little bit more space for it to go up and down when the yeast is doing it. It's got some, not a lot. I think it might be alright. I'd like to hope it is. Now, I did put a cup and a half into this perfect, so that means a perfect cup was in this. So now it's a matter of just shaking it again, working with it, just getting the sugar to dissolve. Just work with it and work with it and work with it till that sugar is. And then rule of thumb is usually like shake it or just sit there and just mess with it. And when you think it's done, do it a little bit longer. Just to make sure that the sugar's done. Once you feel like you've done it long enough, then let it sit for a couple minutes, check it out, see if any sugar settles back down, and then start working with it again. Alright, so I am a little concerned with how high this is compared to this one, the juice level. It's starting to rain. Anyways, So I'm thinking I'm going to pour a little bit of this juice out because I'm just concerned about the headspace comparing. Man, it's coming down. But anyways, I'm concerned about this due to the fact how much headspace is in comparison. I should have poured it out. I should have poured a little bit more whenever I was looking at it, and I thought I should. Because now I don't want to, just because I've already mixed the sugar into it. So that really sucks, but that's on me because I just went ahead with it even though I was thinking about it. So now pouring some out, it's going to lose a little bit of the sugar, and since I'm a cheapskate, I'm going to drink it and it's going to be really sugary and I'm not going to like it. Nonetheless, I'm not pouring any of this out because I'm comfortable with that headspace, but I'm not comfortable with this headspace. I'm pouring just a little bit out. It's not even that much, like maybe a shot and a half of grape juice. Now for the yeast, it would probably be a little bit more advised to use wine yeast, especially since I'm making wine. But for this batch, I'm just going to use bread yeast. It should be all right. It might not turn out just as nice as it would be if I used wine yeast. And I will use wine yeast in the future. I do plan to, because I'm gonna be doing. I plan to make a variety of different wines. I just figured, screw it. I'm just gonna jump into it, make wine, and I don't have no wine yeast at the local Walmart, so bread yeast should be okay for what I'm making. Even though, I mean, it would be still preferred. In the future, I do plan to have, instead of using the containers it comes in, moving them over to glass fermenting jars. I do have the, what's it called? It's not a trap. I mean, it's shaped like a trap, but it's like an airlock. I do have an airlock that's shaped like a sink trap. But I'm not going to use them for this. For this one, I'm just going to do it, and I'm sure, like everybody's seen wine making videos, whatever, but essentially it's just, you have the lid on, and you slightly break it loose to where, like, you can, like, squeeze it, and you can see that, maybe, like, tighten it a little bit more, where you can hear, just pretty much where you can hear it. Aside from that, but I do have the airlocks I'm going to use in the future. I prefer to use them on these, but they're not going to fit this, and I don't feel like trying to cut a hole and mess the hole up, and then now I'm screwed and I don't have a lid. So once I actually get like a proper jar, then I'll use the airlocks. How much yeast to use? I don't know. I'm just tap. I'm going to give the grape a little bit more. You don't have to use a whole pack. Like a half a pack is probably what you would use for both. So I could probably stop there because that's probably more than you necessarily need for both of them. I'm just going to give the grape just a little bit more because why not? The amount that's in there now is probably what you would use for probably 2 more. So I'm just going to save them. I'm just going to hold on to that for another one. I'm not going to just throw this away. I'm going to get wine yeast, use that wine yeast, but I'm also going to use this bread yeast because I'm not about to spend money just to throw it away. I got yeast on the lid, which I don't want, but that's my own doing. Alright, well, let's see. It's important to note that you definitely do not want to leave these completely shut, because if you do, it will blow up. It is going to blow up. So technically, this is a bomb if I leave it alone, and I'm not going to leave it alone. Now, the idea of these is essentially you want air to escape, no bugs or lint to get inside. Now you could come back after, well, within like, I mean, you can already tell they're already kind of at work, but at the same time, it's also from shaking it up again. But if you look at it like 2 to 3 days, you'll see that it's actually like actively working. You can give it, I don't know, you want to wait probably. Well, you want to wait till you don't see any activity, which it can range from like 2 to 3 weeks, and then after that, it's time to rack it. And when it's time to rack, we'll cover that. Now I need to go place it in a dark, warm area, which I got a spot. I just need to move some junk that don't need to be where it needs to be. So now these are actively working. The yeast is alive. It's going to be eating the sugar, pooping out CO2 and alcohol. It's just a matter of patience and leaving them alone. I need to write down the actual day, and then go from there. You know, some people have little readings on the ABV. I don't know one of those yet, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just playing around, just making it to make it. I've made it once, making it again, and I'm gonna pursue proper making. I want to make mead. Mead is the one thing I really want to make. I haven't made it yet, but when I do, you'll be there to witness the creation of mead. I'm going to do it soon, I hope. I just need a decent amount of honey, a proper vessel to put it in, because I would not advise plastic. If you can get your hands on a proper glass jar for fermenting, that would be a lot better. Also, an airlock. Put just the yeast in the apple juice, then you would get apple cider, or hard apple cider. But I put sugar in there, so that immediately turns it into a wine. So it's no longer going to become an apple cider. It's going to become an apple wine. Now, I haven't really heard anything about apple wine. There's probably a reason for that. But oh well, it's too late now. I can't take the sugar out of it, so I'm not worried about it. So we'll have apple wine and grape wine. I want to make cranberry wine and pomegranate. I want to make pomegranate wine. Just wine. Experiment, test different things. Maybe add orange, blueberry, and something else together. Maybe slice a couple actual fruits and drop them in there. Just play around. We'll figure something out. That's pretty much it. I'll have an updated video when it comes to racking, which all that really is you're siphoning the juice out and moving it over to another container for it to pretty much sit again for about another week or two, and from that it'll the settlement, whatever's floating around, it'll settle again, and then you rack it again, and from that rack you can either bottle it or rack it one more time and see what it looks like if there's any sediment. Then you can bottle it. I'm probably just gonna rack it, let it sit, and then bottle it. I'm going to rack it to a pitcher, and then while it's in the pitcher, I'm going to aerate them, which pretty much just mixing it, letting letting the CO2 out. When it comes to bottling, I'm going to try to get my hands on some bottles or something. I'll either get some old wine bottles or go buy some glass bottles. I don't know yet. I just know that I'm going to bottle, rack, then bottle, and go from that. But I'm going to. Alright, that is the video. There will be an update coming up on these when it comes to racking. And then once they're racked, they'll sit for another week or two. And then they'll be bottled, most likely. So, now it's just a matter of patience. The waiting game has begun.